Hi everyone, my name is Anissa Mosquera. I am a first year graduate student at DePaul University in the Clinical Mental Health Counseling program, and today I will be talking to you about perfectionism and self-care. So, what is perfectionism? Many of us probably have some perfectionistic tendencies within ourselves. Things like attention to detail, setting goals to better yourself, and creating work that you can be proud about can all be considered aspects of healthy perfectionism. Within this presentation, I'm going to shift the focus to unhealthy perfectionism. This is when the compulsive need to be perfect and do everything perfectly overwhelms you, weighs you down, and affects how you live your everyday life. In the last slide, we discussed the differences between a healthy and unhealthy perfectionist. So here are some signs of an unhealthy perfectionist. Firstly, you may procrastinate or avoid situations you might not excel in. This can look like pushing off a paper out of fear that your work will not be perfect, or pushing off a paper until you feel you have the time to do it perfectly. You might avoid trying a new activity or hobby because you feel you won't be perfect or even good at it right away. You might find yourself ruminating over sharing projects, papers, sending emails, presenting in front of others, etc., out of fear that others might notice your mistakes. You might also obsess over things that you got wrong. You may try to avoid constructive criticism for others, and you may find yourself thinking about the mistakes you made or points you lost way after the fact. You may become really hard on yourself over these mistakes. You might have trouble letting others do things for you. For example, in group projects, you may feel the need to do the bulk of the work or double check everyone else's work. You might prevent your partner or friends and family from helping you out of belief that they will not do whatever task they offered to do as well as you can do it. And you also may set extremely high expectations for yourself. This might look like saying, I'm only going to get A pluses this quarter, or I'm going to work out every single day this year, things like that. While you may not notice it right away, unhealthy perfectionism can have a lot of effects on the self. The first one we'll be discussing is self esteem. So, being an unhealthy perfectionist, you're constantly reaching for excellence, and that can have a really negative impact on one's self esteem. Basing our self worth on achievements can really come back to hurt us when we don't feel that we have performed to the best of our ability. The second one we have is productivity. So not only might you push things off out of fear or dread that your result won't be perfect, you might also spend too much time on one simple task trying to perfect it. This can impact other aspects of your life, like your social life and ability to do other things that you enjoy. The third one we have is our general health. So setting those high expectations for yourself with little grace can definitely lead to feelings of failure. These feelings, when experienced often, can lead to one feeling depressed and can also really increase your anxiety. The fourth one we have is creativity. So perfectionists tend to limit their interests and hobbies to things that they already know that they excel in. This can really stifle your growth by preventing you from taking risks and trying and experiencing new things. If you find that you're identifying with some or all of the unhealthy perfectionistic qualities that we just went over, you might also have a really hard time prioritizing self-care. I'm here to tell you that taking care of yourself is not selfish, and engaging in self-care activities is not lazy. Perfectionist or not, we all need to prioritize self-care so that we can continue to be the best whole versions of ourselves. The idea of self care can really be broken down into about four dimensions. So, the first one we have is physical self care. This includes prioritizing a healthy lifestyle, which can mean sticking to a consistent bedtime, making the effort to drink more water during the day, taking the time out of your day to exercise, go on a walk, or even spending 10 minutes stretching and moving your body before bed. The second one we have is emotional self care. This can include maybe setting some boundaries with some friends or family who you feel are taking up a little bit too much of your emotional headspace, addressing pent up feelings within yourself and not allowing those feelings to build and build and build, and even allowing yourself to cry when you feel like you need to cry. The next one we have is psychological self care, which really emphasizes taking care of the mind and fostering new interests. You can journal about your days or experiences. And if you're a student, you can even take the time to read a book for pleasure rather than only reading for your assignments. The last one we have is spiritual self care. So, if you identify with a religion, this can include attending your place of worship, whether that be a church, a mosque, a temple, synagogue, etc. Or it can even be practicing meditation, mindfulness, doing a gratitude exercise, which can really be as simple as writing down 3 things every day that you are thankful for. As you can probably tell, everyone practices self care differently. I really encourage you to find what you enjoy and find meaningful and really make a conscious effort to do those things consistently. Um, This brings us to the next part of our presentation, which is about coping skills. So coping skills differ from self-care routines. Self-care routines really assist us in kind of preventing some of those feelings of stress, becoming overwhelmed, or being too hard on ourselves, whereas coping skills can really be integrated into your self-care routine and assist us in the moment to manage those stressful or overwhelming situations. So here are a few coping skills that perfectionists or non-perfectionists might find helpful and attainable. The first coping skill we're going to discuss is called the worry time technique. So this technique can really be used if you find yourself obsessively worrying or ruminating about something that may or may not be in your control, and this worry is preventing you from being present in the current moment. So once you identify that worry, you're going to schedule a worry time. This can be any time during the day that you can set aside to properly acknowledge your worries. For example, I could set my worry time to 4:30 p.m. and from now until 4:30 p.m. I might jot down any worries that come up, but I'm not going to think about them until 4:30. So that coincides with the postponing all of your worries. As those worries arrive, just gently remind yourself that you will have time to give them your full attention later. Write them down and don't think about them until 4:30. As worry time is approaching, you're going to want to think about your worry time limit. This time limit will really ensure that you're not going to spend hours and hours and hours ruminating about your worries. When worry time has come, you will take out your worries if you wrote them down and just briefly ask yourself, can I control this thing that I'm worried about? If the answer is no, then you need to begin to think about how you can make peace with these worries, knowing that you can't change them. If the answer is yes, start writing down a plan. Start writing down a plan of action and solid, concrete steps that you can take to address this worry and start to move on. The next coping skill we are going to discuss is cognitive restructuring. Cognitive restructuring is a commonly used technique in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and it helps us not only become more aware of our thoughts, but it also gives us a sense of control over them by assisting in reflecting on these thoughts rather than just reacting to how they made us feel. As perfectionists, we might get caught up in a lot of black and white thinking. For example, if I were to say I got a B on a paper, I must be so stupid. I'm never going to be successful in life because of this B. That would be an example of black and white thinking. So this first image here really assists in identifying those negative thoughts and reframing them quickly and in the moment. So if I had that negative thought about the B that I got on my paper, I could ask myself a few of these questions to help restructure that thought. So for example, I can ask myself, is this thought helpful? What would I say to someone else if they told me this about themselves? I can ask if this is a fact or opinion, and is there another way I can look at this situation? So after considering all of those things, I could come up with a more optimistic thought, such as, it is kind of a bummer I got to be on that paper when I put a lot of effort into it, and it just means I have more to learn and more to work on. That would be an example of restructuring a negative thought with cognitive restructuring. As we wrap up our time together, I would just like to touch on one last coping skill of meditation. So, meditations are relatively easy to access. I found the one that we are going to do together on YouTube. There are also apps that have meditations on them, and there are scripts online that you can find and print out if you want to lead others through any meditations. The meditation we're going to do together today is called a body scan meditation. Body scan meditations can greatly assist in decreasing anxiety and stress and really increasing your self-awareness and self-compassion. They can also assist in bringing you back to that present moment if you feel that your thoughts have been so overwhelming that you've kind of fallen out of being present in what you're currently working on. And that concludes my presentation on perfectionism and self-care. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope you learned something, and I hope you'll give some of these coping skills a try.